Okay, would all of you like to learn something very quickly? No? Yes. I can't hear you. Yes. Can I hear the people on the Zoom or Teams? Or I can't hear you guys as well because you're either listening to me or you're not there. Okay, I assume that you all are there, and even if you're in online, can you do this with me? Can all of you please stand up? Yes, please, all. Okay, look at your feet. Okay, look at the ceiling. Okay, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Release it. Okay, now ask yourself this question. Don't sit yet, okay? Ask yourself this question. Do I need to tell you how to breathe? Okay? No one needs to know how to breathe. No one needs us to tell us how to be responsible. If you talk about responsible investment, responsible finance, everything else that is done is therefore irresponsible. Sustainable finance, everything else is unsustainable finance. So if you think about success, in 5 years' time, we should not have any conference called ESG or sustainability. The Chief Sustainability Officer, I know there are many here, should actually be the CEO. That's it. Every board member should be responsible for sustainability. And there should not be any experts in the field because you go to school and they teach you to be responsible. They teach you not to throw rubbish, but when you are in a board of a company that pollutes, then you forget that. So I've got a panel of experts here, but really all of us already have this knowledge. The difference between us and anyone else is the time you take to read the stuff off your phone. I wasn't an expert 5 years ago. I was a credit analyst, and the only skill I had coming into this game was asking questions. So ask yourself this question: what can you do? And you can be sitting in the board, and I have CEOs often in front of me, oh, no, how do we learn this? How do we know about ESG? Just pick up your phone, Google search, read. I'm being very blunt here, but there are no real experts in this field. You can be an expert anytime, any day. And now I will tone down and let you sit. Thank you very much for entertaining me. I was highlighted to a new word by Faroze, manel. And when I saw this pre-panel dialogue, what the hell is manel? So I Googled. It's a panel that only have men in it, okay? But I can tell you that behind me are my daughters, okay? So I may stand in front of you as a man, but I report to an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old that I'm responsible for. So you may have the manels here, or a manel, but really we are representing every walk of life. And to start off with, we are going to be free flow. We are going to finish by 12:45, and I'm going to do this in reverse. Usually, I would ask each panelist what is their last point, and then I realized that's the most important thing they have to say, and why give them the last 10 seconds for it? So I'm going to start off with Faroze. Before you get into your respective bits, what is the point that you want to leave us with? This one you jot down, because everything else they say is going to be based on this. You have 20 seconds.
You put in a spot now, you got to switch the mental model to last to first, right? Well, for me, I think if anything is a takeaway, that I think we need to now look at sustainability from a performance perspective. I think it's too long we are decoupling it performance. So sustainability has to be driven by performance, and therefore it has to be data driven to drive the target setting that you are putting yourself. So don't disequate performance with sustainability. It is combined together. If not mean sustainability, you just be lip service.
One word, performance. Okay, Datuk Prakash, 20 seconds.
Yeah, one word, I would say relevance, because we have a lot of targets, and we continue to have a lot of targets, and it is changing every day, but it's important to make sure that whatever we are working on will create only impact when it is relevant. And of course, the scenario is changing every day, so as a result, the relevance also will change.
It's almost spelling out my name, P-R, relevance. So I need to come up with something, objective. You need to have objective measures. So try to think of something, M. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. The term that came to my mind is bottom up. I work with SDGs every day. The problem is when you look at the list, you start from 1 down to 17. But if you reverse the SDGs from 17 to 1, you find that as you cross off the numbers from 17, 16, by the time you reach 10, number 1 has already been settled by itself. So bottom up. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to quiz the audience later what the key words are, right? I'm doing everything in reverse, so the Q&A is going to be on you. Okay, global perspective, corporate perspective. But then, yes, see, this is the issue with being online. You're out of sight, out of mind. So if you're working from home, remember sometimes if your boss doesn't see you, they forget about you. Okay, sorry, Wing, your one word. And I hope you did the the exercise I forced everyone to do.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Pramod. I think first of all, good afternoon to all of you. I see a lot of guests here, both inside the hall as well as those dialing online. It's a wonderful to be able to meet you, at least for myself virtually, because practically I'm a very high risk person. I meet so many people every day, and I told myself and the organizers, please excuse me from participating in this conference
Wing,
on the virtual basis.
20 seconds, 20 seconds.
Okay,
You've done 3 times.
So yeah, so consultants like us, always we work in a very methodological manner, and I think to be very effective, right, in doing what we set out to do, we need to be very structured, and we come up with strategy, and then from there we take one step at a time, and eventually deep dive, and end of the day to evaluate the results from our labors. Thank you.
So what is your one word takeaway?
Yep, must be very structured and focused.
Okay, so we have performance, relevance, objective, bottom up, and be structured. Okay,
Yeah.
Almost spelled out my name, but never mind. I'll try in the next panel. Okay, we are going to make this interactive. We will look at it from different perspectives, and Faroze will cover the global perspective. Datuk Prakash will look at it from the corporate side and maybe cross-border experience on this topic, and from the cities, communities perspective. And hopefully I can link a bit here and there. But can we start? And Wing, again, before I forget you, please shout out if you didn't get a question, but Wing will link all the elements together, because as a consultant, he deals with the ecosystem.
Thanks, Pramod. So I know you are a tough timekeeper, so I'll keep to my 5 minutes, right? So when you look from a global perspective, why do we need to accelerate our ESG performance, right? So I think we need to just go back 2 years and look at the COVID impact to sustainability, because the COVID has also given us so many new jargons, and the one that is used over and over again, this new normal, right? But really, the new normal is actually the showcase of the fragility of business models to unexpected external shocks. And actually, these external shocks are ESG related. It's not an economic issue. ESG related risk created this economic downturn that was a fallout from the COVID perspective, right? Therefore, it has given the rise of desire for businesses to be more resilient, to remain competitive, especially in the face of these unexpected externalities. And this means that sustainability expectations now has been broadened to drive, right, as the forefront towards risk mitigation and also product innovations. And this is being pressured by the changing global rules of trade engagements, right? All nations have set their ambition towards being more sustainable, usually in the form of climate actions, but you are also seeing that happening in the S space, as our friend from FGV mentioned earlier as well, right? For example, Japan has said they will work with ILO to look at human rights issue in their supply chain. So both the environmental and social aspects are also being driven from a nation perspective. And this will rewrite the rules of engagement. And Malaysia as a trading nation, right, sustainability will be our first value differentiator and eventually a license to operate. And we're already seeing instances of this. There is a transition from differentiator to license and operate. If you look at the recent cases of the US customs seizures, right, these are all sustainability related. So this means that globally the expectation for businesses beyond your price and quality, sustainability will be your third credentials. So for this to happen, for sustainability to be third credentials from a global perspective, the transition must move from just aspiration to lip service into data-driven performance. For example, there are a lot of questions on net zero commitments already. It's so long-term. What about mid and short-term targets, right? And stakeholders will demand transparency and, more importantly, proof of action. So if you cannot prove action and performance, it's just greenwashing, right? And it's important to remember that the demand side for sustainable trade and products, those that's going to buy from businesses, will not just look at your scope 1 and scope 2. So just you as a company being sustainable is no longer good enough. They're going to talk about scope 3, your supply chain, right? So globally, the expectation is also looking at supply chain sustainability performance. So engagements with your suppliers, and especially SMEs, will be part of requirement for sustainability performance globally across the board. So just to end, I think important also for us to look at sustainability from a developing economic context. We shouldn't just copy-paste, because our reality is very different, right? But that doesn't mean that we should use it as an excuse that, oh, you know, the developed worlds, they are the ones that are causing all the problem, we don't need to follow. No, it's an opportunity for us to innovate and to make sure that we don't fall in the same hole as well, right? So for Malaysian businesses, please accelerate your sustainability agenda, because globally, first mover advantage is this. You will be forgiven if you do something wrong right now, because everybody's on the learning curve, right? However, very fast, the rule book will come down very hard, and then the cost of inaction will be tremendous if you do not move fast enough. So, thank you, Pramod.
Datuk Prakash.
You know, I think it was about 15 years back when I was in that organization that we had the first approach, and it used to be called PP&P. It is the planet, the profit, and the people. And from there, today we are at ESG. Basically, it's a really disruptive market. The kind of businesses we have been in and the kind of businesses we are in today and the kind of businesses we will be in tomorrow are all going to be totally different. So now, what do we take it in so that we have a successful way forward? And that is the main subject of today's focus. To be very frank, I left out with the word relevance. We had a lot of examples. For example, a simple example, a lot of people have been spending a lot of effort on vehicle exhaust. A very simple one, and we have been talking about the quality of the exhaust. A lot of companies have gone into trouble with that, and so on and so forth. And at the end, one city describes it as saying that from tomorrow, you don't use diesel vehicles in the city. And then the whole cross-section of evaluation is different. The whole relevance changes. The ESG targets, we have many, and what we pick up and what we focus on, I think the first and the foremost aspect is only what is relevant for our business creates impact. So our business is changing, and we are moving from one to the other. Our focus is moving from one to the other. So it is extremely important for us to make sure that this relevance is continuously monitored. Now, the second aspect is we always have a feeling that we have all these variables available. What is in it? It is just about going and choosing what is valid and what is not valid. But of course, these are valid for different environments, different countries, different way of working, different social fabric, and so on and so forth. So even in a multinational, when there are targets which are stipulated and so on and so forth, a lot of effort has to go into describing what is localized and what is aligned and exactly essential and impactful for the local organization. So that is surely something which I think is important for all of us. The second aspect which I would like to touch in a very fast manner is what gets measured gets done. Of course, there's a general feeling that we have fixed all our targets and it is in place, and there's somebody to look at it, and once in a while we will bring out our feeling of what is our progress. And I think this is to be improved. We have to make sure that there is independence and transparency in the way the development is being measured. And at the same time, one of the other aspects is that we tend to only look at it from the perspective of our wall-to-wall business, whereas it has to be looked at in the basis of the whole supply chain or value addition chain. So it is important for us to look at our customers' place. It is important for us to look at our sub-suppliers' place and then make sure that the overall wall-to-wall impact is together and transparently monitored, assessed, and improved upon. And last but not the least, I would also like to touch on the fact that there are many who would then evaluate the progress and also take action on what they think is to the continuous improvement process. And if we could de-link this and have independent evaluations and then the business look after the continuous improvement, I would say we would travel faster than what is at the moment seen. So with this, I would stop at the moment.
There's another interesting line I'm drawing: performance, relevance, objective, financials. Just before coming back to you, the financials, who's in charge of it? The CFO or the group accountant? This is an interesting point. Before you start on any sustainability journey or project, look at the expenses before and after. You might realize that, yes, you're saving the planet, etc., but that program actually is saving money as well. And that sometimes is de-emphasized. But it is very important because a corporate cannot continue to be sustainable if the money aspect is not looked after. I mean, we can all go out of this room with the green hat, the planet hat out, but if you're not achieving your ROE, you as a CEO, you as a CFO will be out soon. And whatever sustainability plan that you had, it's going to go out of the door. I'm just bringing home an important point. There are many things that were good for the environment that had nothing to do with net zero or something green. Companies had digitalization programs which helped you during the MCO. It also allowed us to run our businesses without employees driving in. Air became cleaner and so on. Okay, that's one example, but you don't have to be thinking green to have a green impact. Think about innovating your business to make it better, and sometimes you might get a side effect that is beneficial for the economy. It's also beneficial for the ecology. And I think from a city's perspective, that's where, Anthony, I'd like to clue you in.
Thank you. Tan Sri Michael Yeo, moderator, fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Before I carry on, there are two people I actually like to give a shout out to. Number one is Professor Datuk Dr. Denison Jaya Surya. I'm here representing him. So please imagine somebody slightly taller with a jambang. Yeah? The second person is actually a person sitting behind Mr. Gurmeet Singh, who I worked with for 13 years. So whenever I refer to anything sustainable, I have to think of him. I'm not going to speak exactly on cities, but what actually the All-Party Parliamentary Group Malaysia on Sustainable Development Goals. The name is long. The acronym is also very long, APPGM-SDG. In Malay, it is Kumpulan Rentas Parti. The problem is when we go to a Malay area, they think it is Lompat Parti because they think we were Merentas Parti. So this was formed under the purview of the Speaker's Office in 2019 with the Malaysian CSO SDG Alliance as the Secretariat. The APPGM-SDG is a partnership, so SDG 17 is actually very important, so that's why I say bottom-up. Partnership between members of parliament, academicians, researchers, NGOs and communities with the purpose of localizing SDGs at parliamentary and district levels. Private sector has a huge role to play as an important stakeholder in follow-up funding of good and proven CSR projects. So you have funds, please come and see me. Our current chairman is YB Datuk Seri Rohani Abdul Karim from Batang Sadong. And YB Mariachin Abdullah, Petaling Jaya, is the deputy. Professor Datuk Dr. Denison Jaya Surya is the head of our secretariat. We have ongoing partnerships with various research institutes, and I have to be very careful when I mention this. The good ISIS, Malaysia, not the bad one. Sejahtera Center in International Islamic University, Malaysia. UUM, UMK, I didn't know that the university existed in Kelantan until we went there. UNIMAS, UITM, and a total of 78 active local solution providers around the country, having executed 34 projects in 2020 and 87 in 2021. Since we started work in January 2020, the APPGM-SDG Secretariat has been working at times from home, mama shops, and even in Parliament. We covered 10 parliamentary constituencies in 2020, 20 in 2021, and plan for 25 this year. In fact, we have a team in Paribunta right now. That's why Dr. Denison is not here. Our full-time staff strength has increased from 2 in 2020 to 11 today. Now, a little bit into cities, just a little bit. We have just moved into our first proper office space in 8th Avenue, Petaling Jaya, as of the beginning of this month, after utilizing KSI's office as our postal address for 2 years. So thank you, Tan Sri Michael Yeo, for your kind hospitality for letting us use your address. Our office is designed with about 1/3 of the space utilized for staff, and the remaining 2/3 is a training area aptly named My SDG Academy. Being conscious of the climate crisis, the office is fitted with fans, Mr. Gurmeet, unfortunately, we have air conditioners, but they are set at a nice 26 to 27 degrees. Some people ask me, why have air conditioners at all? One does not need to live like an Eskimo while being in Malaysia. The APPGM-SDG Secretariat governance structure has matured and become slightly more complex as the amount of funding from MOF has grown from 1.6 million in 2020 to 10 million in 2022. With greater amount of funding comes greater responsibility. Just in case, I took that up from Spider-Man. At least 60% of the funding received from MOF is translated to action on the ground with communities. This year, our plan is to have close to 75% of our funding of 7.5 million going back to the community. Localizing SDGs has positive effects on both the micro project activities and at macro national policy making and review. Our process is a whole of community approach, beginning with a 3-day site visit, prioritizing of issues with the MPs, approval of 3 to 5 local projects, totaling 120,000 in each constituency, followed by a vigorous monitoring and evaluation exercise. Yes, I totally agree with the first and second speaker. If you cannot monitor and evaluate it, it's of no use. All these actions are synthesized to be presented as policy discussion papers to MPs and government agencies. An example of our policy work is the speech delivered by YB Rohani in Parliament during the special sitting on floods. Several points were presented based on 2 years of research as well as community-based solution projects. We hope that these points shall be taken into consideration in the upcoming Climate Change Act. Ladies and gentlemen, I have compressed 2 years plus story into a few minutes. So thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Anthony. Before I go on to Wing, I told you I'm going to turn this upside down, right? So as Wing is going to speak, to each of the tables out there, I want you to think of one question and one word that you will leave this conference with and do. So one question for the panel and one word that you take back to your organization and do. Yes? Okay, silence is consent, huh? All right. Okay, so Wing, over to you.
Thank you. May I request the organizer to just put up one slide that I've prepared to guide my presentation. So I'm going to just share a little bit about the key success factors in implementing ESG initiative. And I don't think there's any rocket science there. Many of you would have looked into that or some of that. But I think it's also good to take a holistic view of the factors one by one, right? Because as a consultant, we are trained to look into things in a very comprehensive way, one step at a time, and we try to work our minds like a clock. So if you could just follow me, right, to look into all these success factors clockwise. Number one is to first review our current state and make an assessment as to your sustainability initiative and benchmark that, right, against the local and international industry best practices, and relate that to the standard and the framework that you may already have prepared. Then assess the quality of your initiative based on your country and the industry requirement, identify areas for improvement and recommended actions. So that will be the first checkpoint. Then move to the second one, which is on strategy alignment by defining your sustainability purpose of your whole organization and how to align your visions to that of the board of directors and senior management. So that is the internal strategy alignment. And then next, you have to embark on stakeholder engagement. When I say stakeholder, you include your regulators, your investors, your financiers, NGO, right? Your consumers, your supplier, your business partners included, so as to develop stakeholder engagement, right, strategies, and make an assessment, and engage all of them, maybe through survey, town hall, and some other modes, to understand their concerns and analyze the outcomes, right? Because we cannot just look at it, what we should do, because ultimately the actions that we are going to take would have a big impact, right, to the community and society at large. And therefore, it's important, right, for us to take into considerations the view of various stakeholders. Then next is to come to a materiality assessment, because there may be too many things that you want to do, and we can't possibly do everything. And as consultant, we always say that we define strategy being an approach to identify where do we want to play, and on the chosen field that we want to play, we make sure that we play very hard so as to see the outcome. And therefore, it's important to look at this particular checkpoint, where we look at the materiality of the things that we want to do and make an assessment, right, by reviewing the existing metrics based on the current state and also the engagement result, and prioritize area, then develop a metrics and KPI tailored to your organization, right, based on the identified initiative, right, and the overall business strategies, right? You ensure that you need to dive into that. And then next is to embark on data collections exercise. So there are so many things that we got to do, even say to cut down, right, the carbon emissions by cutting down travel. Then we first got to know, right, now our people, our employees, what kind of mode that they use, right? Whether they're driving car, whether they're using EV, or they're taking public transport. When they travel, are they going on economy class, or they go on private jet? And firms like Deloitte, right? Globally, we have 350,000 people. Just in Malaysia, we have 2,500 people. Constantly, our people are traveling. So we need to gather all this data and then put that together, right? Then review the effectiveness of the internal policy and procedure for gathering those data for reporting purposes. Then next would be on report development, where we prepare a reporting roadmap to increase, right, the reporting maturity over time, analyze the financials as well as the non-financial drivers, right, for value creation, and that would go towards adopting eventually integrated reporting, right, to have something that is of value to the readers. And next, having done that, I think it's good to get an external party to come in to provide assurance, right, of your internal system procedures, and also the data, the informations that you put in. And eventually, having all this information and data validated, then you have to be very pleased to share your final report, right, to all the stakeholders. This is where you have to identify your organization's business opportunity generated from the information disclosed. Maybe your bankers will be very pleased with what you are doing and are willing to offer you a discounted interest rate, right, on the financing that you procure from them. And some other consumers, your customers, may be more willing to come to you, right, to buy your product or services, because you have a sustainable business. And end of the day, right, once you put up the final report, how can you have a platform that allow, right, very good interactions with the stakeholders? Can that be, right, having a platform where you put your information there, and some of those information is by cognitive intelligence kind of interactions, where the readers can come in to give their comments and things like that.
Wing, 10 seconds.
Yep. So I'm done, Pramod. So I think what I could summarize from what I've mentioned for the past few minutes is, I think it's good to take a holistic visit of what you have done and see where are the gaps and such that you have a very structured way, right, to accomplish your task. Thank you.
Thanks, Wing. When you want an idea to stick, you've got to be unorthodox. And I'm going to be unorthodox now, and I'd like the help of my fellow panelists. Since each of you have cordless mics, I'm going to go out there, and I'm going table by table. I would like you to join me to cover some tables. We'll ask for that one question. If we can answer it, we'll answer it then and there. We'll ask them for one word that is they're going to take back and change what they are doing. Because you didn't come here for a lecture. You came here to change the world, right? Yes? You came here to change the... How are you going to change the world if I can't hear you? You came here to change the... Okay, so I'm going to come there and get the view out of you. Please. First table on the left at the back. I'm coming for you. So do you have your one question and one word? I won't leave, you know.
One question, one word. Is it one word only? Okay. I think my question is, how are we ready for this? Are we ready for this?
How ready?
How ready we are with the ESG?
Pramod,
yeah.
Are we supposed to answer the questions on the table immediately, or the questions for everyone?
We can answer the question straight away. Okay, what we'll do is we'll repeat the question for the benefit of everyone. So I will take this one. He says, what's your name again? Asrul. Okay, Asrul's question is, are we ready for this? My answer is yes. You can be ready as soon as you want to read. You don't need to come for any conferences to find out everything you need to know, but arm yourself with questions, right? If you have a board or you're in the board, why are you not doing this? You know, our competitors are doing, why are you not doing it? Do you know the regulator is doing, you know, you can lead with questions and you can create change. So one word, if you were to change your organization or change something after this, what would that one word be?
Commitment.
Commitment, all right? So are we ready? And commitment. Any questions on your table?
This table here, their one word is action.
We got commitment, action, and what is their question? Is that there should be a question?
Okay, hi, I'm Pua. My question was, within the next 1 year, what would be the most important thing to be done?
Yeah, so my response to that is definitely climate action, because everybody is speaking the same language. And it's important because all stakeholders will start to look at your climate performance, and especially the banks, since Bank Negara has now their climate-based taxonomy principles. So financing will be influenced with your climate action as well. So if you want to focus on one thing, do climate action, seriously.
So this is FGV then.
Okay, our one word is perseverance, because this is a long journey for everyone. And the question will be?
The word as well. The other word is responsibility. I'm very keen to that phrase given by one of the speakers, in which he said, a bigger budget means bigger responsibility. So we don't take it as a privilege, rather it's best to take it as a responsibility.
And what is the question?
My question is like, I don't know Cik Wan Kasim whether my question is valid atau tidak, Cik Kasim. It could be contradict to what we are doing in the plantation industry, for example. How do you actually balance up trying to sustain environmental, then going for profit? That was my question. That is.
You want to add something to that question?
Not really, but since I have the mic,
10 seconds.
My question would be, should there be someone assigned to coordinate all effort, a multi-stakeholder effort, in championing this sustainability agenda?
Well, I think the perseverance word is really strong, and that is extremely important, and the courage to succeed. Coming to his question, should there be a separate, of course, in every organization, my answer would be that in any and every organization, there would be somebody responsible. However, like we talk about quality or like we talk about any other business aspect, this has to be part of the fabric of the business. This has to be part of the fabric of the organization. So success will come from the fact that each and every one understands how he's going to contribute to the success of the business through ESG, and then he is energized, and he or she will contribute the best from his perspective, and in collective, the whole organization is energized. Anything to add, Pramod? Pramod, you want to add something?
This table, any?
My name is Edmund. I'm from.
Here.
My name is Edmund. I'm from Simbi Solar.
Can we wait till?
Okay. It's not the questions, but it's more sharing of my point of view. Okay. I hope that the government will do more in promoting this ESG. And you look at in the solar industry, we have been asking the government to give tax exemption for this purchasing of solar system for residentials. And it has been so many years, and this is so easy for government to do it, but there's nothing has been done, right? And apart from that, is basically also the I hope that the government have got this more commitments in terms of implementing the ESG. I think it's easy that we set the targets and all that, but then in terms of implementation wise and the follow up, right? So that is there's some hope there, lah. So hopefully that with the voices here and the people around here, we continue to fight for sustainability and more actions from the government side. My one word is action.
Pramod, if I may just add to what the gentleman has just mentioned, I think the government so far has been quite supportive, right, in terms of providing fiscal and non-fiscal incentive, right? So we talk about solar panel, solar farm. I think the government has been giving some incentive, and this year, in fact, the government has also allowed the service provider that provides services on rainwater harvesting to be given tax exemption, and then the importation and use of EV is given 100% import duty exemption. Also for individual that make use of charging facility for EV is given a tax relief of 2,500 ringgit per annum. I think those are really useful, and we have seen that in the past it's very costly to install solar panel in the roof, but now the payback, right, with the government incentive as well as the purchase by TNB on the excess of electricity produced, right, would make the payback of those investments probably around 5 years or shorter than that.
I have 5 minutes. to meet the
Yeah,
deadline.
that's all.
Okay.
That's all. Thanks.
Which table has not given their view yet?
Can I just do a quick intervention?
Okay, quick one.
How many of you stay in Petaling, Jaya? Do you know about the rebate scheme? Okay, blank looks, very good. Look for yesterday's papers. The rebate scheme has been on for 11 years and they've given out 700,000 ringgit in green rebates on your assessment. Thank you.
Okay, let's do this quickly. Go ahead.
Panelists, I think I'd like to thank you for spending a lot of time talking about sustainability. I think delivering the sustainability here. But the whole morning, I'm still have not heard the ESG, especially the big G, which is still silent. We have actually missed out one of the very important aspects of ESG. The big G of the governance is not there. I understand sustainability, which all you've been driving, started off with the SDG goal.
Sorry, sir.
So my question here is that
what is your question? What is your question? G. What is the G? Where is the G? Okay. I think I know where the G is. Gurmit.
The G is supposed to be in issues of how the country is run, how things are managed in the company. And I think this covers a whole range of things, from question whether you have an anti-corruption policy, you have a disclosure policy, transparency and all that. I think I agree in a way we have not really addressed that issue.
And I have a lot of respect for this man, Gurmit. He's been looking at ESG and sustainability before it's actually called that. And he was doing this way before I was born. So thank you, sir. And any questions?
Pramod, can I just add on to the G question? So this is from perspective of the UN Global Compact. So for us, we want to make business as a force for good. So the question for us is that, does businesses need G to move, right? And in many cases, businesses are proud to say they're independent decision-making bodies, right? And when they are making money, they don't say it's because of G, it's because of themselves, right? So I think the question is, I mean, to my response to the question is that, must businesses wait for a G initiative before they move? I don't think this is the situation. Businesses must leverage their power as independent decision makers. And when you profit, you actually have power and influence to do the right things, right? So independent of G, businesses can and must take actions. And I give you an example. We have engaged over the past number of years, six corporates who've committed to the science-based targets, which is actually the gold standard of climate actions. It's the highest level of commitments you can make with short and mid-term and publicly disclosed data. The government didn't ask them to do it, but they did it on their own accord. And this is the power of businesses, that they can be truly independent in making sustainable decisions and accelerating their ESG performance as well.
Okay, we have 3 minutes. Which tables haven't said anything yet? Hands up, please. Okay, here.
Yeah. Hi, Reza Tudin from the United Nations. Just a very simple question, typically to the boards and management. Do they understand the triple bottom line? You know, how meaningful is partnerships in trying to get these things working rather than just rhetoric? Yeah. The triple bottom line approach, people, partnerships, and profitability. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Cliff Xiao. I'm the CEO of Progression Solar. So mine is less of questions, but more on grateful for today's event and more on taking action. So what we see here is everyone here, we hear about the climate crisis today. And this is true and this is urgent. So one of the most immediate action that you guys can take right here is to go for renewable energy. For those who do not understand how technology like solar will help to combat climate action, because these are some of the most common questions that we hear from a lot of people. How does going solar can help on the climate action? The answer is, for example, a lot of buildings have 2 acres of rooftop size that you can install around 1 megawatt of solar system. 1 megawatt of solar system, 1 year, you can save, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry to stop you, but we have 30 seconds more, all right?
Can I just have a, yeah. The big G here is not just government. The big G here is governance. The governance sometimes has nothing to do with the government. If your governance system in your organization is not strong, you will have a problem. In the APPGM-SDG, we have layers of checks and balances. So the importance here is governance within your organization. Is it working or not? Thank you.
So, panelists, I think we need to make our way back to our origin. Thank you very much, all of you. My intention was not to scare you, so don't have nightmares about me. But if you have any questions, all of us, you can tell, are passionate about our respective topics. Reach out to us if you want to find out more. I'm happy to come and bully your CEO into being sustainable. But I'm not a bully. I'm just very passionate about what I believe in. And if you leave the room with a bit more passion about sustainability and ESG, well, let's just call it good behavior, all right? You know how it is to behave, you know how it is to be responsible. That's why I started the session with the exercise that it's not really difficult, whatever you need to do. It's about choices. So think about every choice that you made that led you to this room. Or maybe just because your boss didn't want to come for this, they sent you, okay? I'm not sure about that, but I leave you with this final thought. Sustainability is not just a word. Sustainability is part of your strategy. Sustainability is part about how you make money. And sustainability is about feeling good inside after you take that action. You don't need me, you don't need regulations, you do not need anybody to tell you how to be sustainable. Just be good, that's all. Thank you.
And I would also like to thank KSI for giving us this opportunity to interact with all of you. It was a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. It's a bit unorthodox, and forgive me if it took you by surprise, but you know, I just get carried away with myself. So, thank you.